and Mimi Brown is going to be delivering another one, right? 9.5 sales habits to grow your revenue. Why can't we just make it 10? I don't know, but take a look. 9.5 to grow your revenue? Let's see what Mimi has to say about going out there and winning those sales.
Hey there. So excited to be with you. Welcome to Amp Up Your Sales, how to skyrocket your revenue. And as you heard, I'm Mimi Brown, and I'm excited to take you on this journey today. I've actually a background in direct sales. I've sold some of everything from insurance plans for your appliances to home warranty plans, to jewelry, and even giving the women a gift of a lift through being what I call a bra lady. And throughout all of those things, I'm going to share with you some tips to help you take it to that next level. And this is not just from, anecdotal, like I've actually done the work for this piece. So I'm so excited to go on this journey. But as we get started, I have a quick confession to make. So I know that we just met, but, and this might be awkward, but I want to be honest. I worked out for a whopping 286 days and I stopped. I can't tell you why I stopped, but if you've ever seen the movie Forrest Gump with Tom Hanks, then you might have remember a scene where he just starts to run. And then one day he says, I think I'll go home now. But it was actually what happened after that was the most remarkable. You see, after I worked out for 286 days, I kind of did an eating binge. Anyone with me? And a crazy thing happened because just a few, really 2, 3, 4 weeks later, I started up again. Now I've lost a total of 400 pounds. Okay, 350 of which were my husband. But in all seriousness, I lost a total of 55 pounds. And I attribute that to one simple thing: habits. And those habits are actually the thing that helped me get back on track after kind of falling off the wagon. Has anyone been there before? You get started with a diet, you get started with a routine, and then all of a sudden you fall off. Well, one of the things that can absolutely help you get back on track is creating habits. And it's interesting, I wanted to study this concept of habits. And so I'm a big reader, and there's a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And what I love about this book is that he dispels the myth that a habit takes 21 days to form. Actually, it takes anywhere between 18 to 284 days to form a habit. And the average time to form the habit is about 66 days. And what he really chronicles is small changes are the most effective. So you're probably wondering, what does my workout routine have to do with you skyrocketing your revenue? Well, I'm so glad you asked, because it's actually really simple. I believe that you can build better sales habits will allow you to build a better business. And I'm going to say that one more time. By building better sales habits, you're going to actually build a better business. The famed motivational speaker Brian Tracy said, successful people are those who have successful habits. And so today I'm going to walk you through the 9.5 sales habits to help you grow your revenue. Now, you have two very important jobs when running your business: providing tremendous value for your customers or your clients, and selling the snot out of it. Now, if you've ever seen the movie Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner, give me a quick shout out in the chat. Now, it's an oldie, but it's a goodie. And if you haven't seen the movie, Kevin Costner is an Iowa farmer, and he's inspired by this voice that he can't ignore to pursue a dream that he can hardly believe. He dreams of having a baseball field by turning his ordinary cornfield into a place where dreams could come true. And if you've ever seen the movie, there's a famous line in the movie where he says, if you build it, they will come. Well, I call this in sales the field of dreams myth. See, sometimes we believe that, especially even maybe in pure romance, you get started. I started my business. I got fancy business cards, maybe a website. I show up on Facebook and boom, all of the sales are just going to start rolling in. Because we believe that if you build it, they will come, just like they said in the movie. Well, they lied. If you build it, market it, and then sell the snot out of it, they may come. But really what it's about is how to set yourself up for success by putting into motion the habits that will help you foundationally create the type of business that you've always wanted. So as we go through this today, here's one of the things I'm going to ask you to do. Think through, how can I put into action any of the habits that Mimi shared? And what I would love is, give me a shout out on social media. I'm at Hey Mimi Brown, because I would love to find out what's working for you. So the very first habit is what I call mind your mindset. And I believe in anything and everything that we do, it starts with intention. And so like this morning, or today actually, I set the intention that I wanted to have a fabulous experience for all of you and give you tools and nuggets to help you skyrocket your sales. And I'm setting that into motion. And the same thing with mindset, we have to have a mindset around sales. And so here's one key foundational message that I know, that if you're in business, you're in sales. Now, I want you to think for a moment. When you first encountered what it meant to be a salesperson, what characteristics come to mind? And you can just kind of throw them in the chat. Now, as I'm going through the chat and things, when I've done this program before, these are typically the things that come up: pushy, slimy, trickster, manipulator, arrogant, used car salesman. And very rarely do things like problem solver, helper. See, usually the first positive or semi-positive word comes a little bit lower in the list. And so if that's your first experience and how you felt with sales, imagine how that affects your mindset. See, oftentimes the challenges when we're conveying messages to our clients, they can feel that. They can really like set into motion, or they feel the disconnect, because it feels, sometimes you might feel a little slimy in that moment. Because if you haven't wrapped your mind around really holding space for the fact that you're a salesperson, because you're in business, that it absolutely will come across to your clients and your customers. Now, here's part of that mindset shift is, I don't believe that selling is about convincing. Selling is about service. How am I able to serve people at the highest level? By offering my products to them, how will it help improve their life? And when you are able to really key into, I'm serving them in a higher level, that sense of help will come across to them. And actually the first step before you can even get to the selling as service is really to yourself. If we haven't sold ourselves on our products and the value it brings, how do we expect anyone else to buy it? Our body language communicates it. How we offer to people communicates it. Even in the words that we use, it communicates it. And we're going to talk about the power of words a little bit later. But I want to take you back to when I was just 8 years old and what Nanny, my grandmother, taught me about sales. So there I was in the middle of Farmer Jack's grocery store in one of the suburbs of Detroit. And if you don't speak Mimi, that's Detroit. We just try to sound fancy. And so there I am. I looked down the aisle and I got inspired. And I told my mother that I wanted to have a lemonade stand. So being the very good mom and parent, she said to me, well, Mimi, if you want to have a lemonade stand, you need to save your allowance to get all the materials because that's what it takes to have a business. You have to invest. So after 2 or 3 weeks of saving my allowance, scrubbing toilets, I earned enough money to buy all the materials for my lemonade stand. So I went to my mother and I was ready and excited. And she said, you know what, Mimi, I don't know if doing it at our house would be the best. We don't get a lot of traffic. Why don't you go over to Nanny's house? So I show up with all of my materials. Nanny had a table for me and a beautiful tablecloth. And I set up my lemonade stand with my Country Time lemonade, 16-ounce cups. And I waited for people to come. And guess what happened? Nothing. I was devastated. Only like a couple people bought lemonade from me. I was really ready to give up. So as I made my way back to the porch and I looked at Nanny and I said, I don't think I'm cut out for this lemonade thing. She looked at me with her wise old eyes and said, well, maybe you should try it again. But here's what I'm going to recommend. When you set up the lemonade stand, this time, I want you to smile. I want you to greet people. I want you to show them that enthusiasm you have. I want you to share with them what makes your lemonade special. And then we'll see how you do. So I gave it another go. And all of a sudden, it seemed like droves of people came to buy lemonade from me. And after 6 long hours, I made $17.50. I was kid rich. And as I went back on the porch to count all my quarters from the change box that I had, my grandmother looked at me and said, well, where's my part? She taught me that day that we don't get anywhere in this world by ourselves. But it was one of the most important lessons that my grandmother taught me. And it wasn't just that we don't get anywhere in this world by ourselves, but it was that people are buying you. See, as I was servicing my customers that day, Nanny told me to smile. She shared with me to be enthusiastic. She even shared with me, tell them what you're going to do with the proceeds from your sale. Go get excited about it. And that energy and that enthusiasm, it'll convey to them. She taught me the most important lesson about sales, that people are buying you first. Now, I'll give you a little update on this story. My grandmother went up and down her street and threatened people that if they didn't buy lemonade from her grandbaby, there was going to be you know what to pay. But yet and still, people could feel my energy and my excitement and my enthusiasm. And so when you're offering your products from Pure Romance, are you showing that enthusiasm? Are you showing that excitement? Do they know that you're sold on your own business? Do you realize that they're really buying you? It was interesting. I was helping an organization put on a sales conference, and I had to choose other sales speakers. And I went through and picked some of my top sales colleagues, and they interviewed in front of a panel. And as we wrapped up the conversation with the group, we noticed that there was one key difference between all of the sales speakers that we chose. You see, all of them had the same credentials, their fee range were in the same place, they'd written books, but one speaker in particular flashed that magic smile. She conveyed that she had done her research. She got excited about our conference because she knew that she could add value to it. And that's part of that sales mindset, being able to convey your confidence, your expertise, and your enthusiasm. That's what people buy. She prepared for the interaction. She made sure she understood the challenges of the organization and what we were looking for. And then she also focused not on selling to us, but how she could really serve us. And so when it comes to your sales mindset, where are you? Have you sold yourself first? Have you sold yourself on the idea of what the products that you offer, how they truly help people, what the value is there? And have you also realized that people really are buying you first? Our second habit that we'll focus on is what I call power up your process. So I was in high school and I played junior varsity basketball, and I had a very important position on the team, right bench. Well, after I got off the bench, I remember my coach telling me that I had to practice the way that I played. Coach Shackelford said it's all about muscle memory. It's when you get into the rhythm of the process. It's like your body takes over and knows just what to do. And your sales has the same effect. Your job is to get very clear on the process and then lead your clients through it. And one of the easiest ways to do this is really to develop what I call a connection script. It's a script that helps you understand what the sales process looks like from start to finish. It might start with the introduction or rapport building. You want to make sure that you properly qualify them. And qualification means that they're the right fit for your product. That not only are they the right fit, but that they actually have the income or the money to be able to pay for it. And that they're aware that you're a solution for them. Helping to qualify people first will actually help you close deals a little bit faster. Next is doing a needs analysis. So kind of jumping into asking the right questions to figure out what matters to them. It's asking for the sale, which we'll jump into in more detail in a little bit. Handling objections. So what challenges do they have? Where are they pushing back? And being prepared for that. And then most importantly is the providing the next steps. When you're clear on the process that you walk them through, it makes it so much easier for you to be in that service space because you're not thinking through the next step. You know what the next step is. They're looking at you as the expert. One of my favorite phrases to use is, here's how I work, or here's the next step. When people are clear about the process, and when you have clarity in that space, it makes it so much easier for them to buy. Now, here's some what I call next steps words to use. So next steps is, let's get a date on the calendar to talk about the opportunity. Maybe you're in recruiting. Well, here's how I work. Or even better than that, does next Tuesday at 4 or Wednesday at 3 p.m. work better for you? When you know and you're very clear on what that next step may be, even if they're not interested today, hey, I'm going to follow up with you in 90 days. How does that sound? Or let me add you to my email marketing list. I don't want you to miss out on any of the upcoming sales that we have. Always giving them a next step and putting them back into the cycle, into the process, makes it easier for you to stay in connection with them. But most importantly, it keeps them interested. Now, here's what I also know is that sometimes we don't always take the time to practice. And as my coach said, we practice the way we play. And so I encourage people to do something what I like to call real play. Now, I want you to think for a moment. Have you ever been a part of a theater or been in a play? All right, so I see we have some folks who've done that. Now, typically, before you get to the opening night performance, what's something that you do ahead of time? Probably a rehearsal, a dress rehearsal. And what's involved in a dress rehearsal? Where we're going to be in the space where we're going to perform. We're in the costumes that we're going to perform in. And we even have the staging. The only difference is the audience isn't present. And I want to encourage you to do the same thing for your next sales interaction, whether it's at a party or you're offering the opportunity to someone at a lunch or a coffee. Take the time to do what we call real play. Get someone from your team or a trusted friend and walk them through the sales process. Know how you're going to open, how you want to do intro and rapport. How do you want to walk them through the next steps? What are some common objections that you may see? And how do you close the deal? And the key here is to make it real. So you want the interaction to be as realistic as possible. So when you're with that colleague, set it up at a coffee shop. Use the words that you would actually say. And I guarantee you that if you practice with enough real play, when you're in the real situation with that potential client or that potential customer, whether it's someone's going to buy a product from you, or it's going to be someone who's going to step into the opportunity, they want to be a part of Pure Romance, that you're likely to close them, or they're more likely to sign up simply because you've created that rhythm, that muscle memory, and you know what to say. Here's an interesting fact too. Companies with a formal sales process saw 18% more revenue growth. So just imagine, what could you do with an additional 20% of revenue in your business by simply being clear about your sales process and also taking the time to practice in a real play scenario? That's a great habit to get started with. All right, so habit number 3 is what I call practice your pitch. And here's the bottom line. Words matter. The words that we use definitely make a difference in how people receive us. And so I'm going to walk through words to lose and words to use. So instead of saying objections, people have concerns. Instead of saying this is cheaper, this is a little bit more economical. We're not pitching or providing deals to people. Consider this an opportunity. I don't want you to really sign a contract. I want you to approve the paperwork. Don't set appointments. No one wants to go to an appointment, but more people want to go to a meeting. Not a cost or a price. It's an investment that they're making. We don't have that contract. We have agreement or paperwork. So if they're signing up as a new as a new member of Pure Romance, they're just going to initial the paperwork or the agreement. Contract has such like legally terms to it that people kind of push back on that. Oh, this is a problem. And that's not a problem. It's just a challenge that we have. People don't like to be sold to, or they don't want to be sold to, or we don't want to use the word sell. As an expert in your field, you want to make a recommendation to them. And we don't have prospects. We have future customers or clients. When you're able to change the wording around on how you work with folks, it makes all the difference in the way that they receive you. You see, part of it is connected to our mindset. When we're able to use words that connect to folks, then it actually lets down their guard and they're more likely to be open to what we have to offer. So the next time that you have an opportunity to present, think about the words that you're using as you practice your pitch. As you develop that sales process, think about the words that are involved in that. Habit number 4 today is all about sharing your story. Here's a couple interesting tidbits. People are attracted to stories. Why? Because stories can move us to tears. It can change our attitudes, opinions, and behaviors. It can even inspire us. Stories actually change our brains. Here's what we've learned. A key story has an effective story has 2 aspects. First, it must capture and hold our attention. And the second thing is that it transports us into that character's world. Part of it is an emotional stimulation. So emotional stimulation is really the foundation of empathy. And it's particularly powerful for humans because it allows us to determine if we want to be, if we should be dangerous, or if something is dangerous or safe, or if this is a friend or a foe. And what happens is when our brains hear a story, it actually increases the dopamine hits that we get. And dopamine is the happy chemical. And so the beautiful part about story is that it allows us to quickly form relationships and allows humans to engage in a large scale connection and sends us into a space of belonging. And by knowing someone's story, where they came from, what they do, who they might have in common, or what they might have in common, relationships are formed and folks are no longer strangers. So I want to encourage you to think through, how do I incorporate my story when I'm at a party, or I'm just out and about with folks, or I'm offering the opportunity to someone? You see, I didn't realize the power of the story until I had the same experience myself. By knowing someone's story, where they came from, it really allows us to cultivate the relationship. You see, as I shared with you at the introduction, I had the pleasure to be a bra lady. So it's very similar to Pure Romance in terms of being a part of a direct sales company. We always said we gave people the gift of a lift. But there I was, newly married, and I came to my husband and I said, I would love for us to have a house. And he ran through the budget and he says, Mimi, I don't see it. It's not in the budget. He said, we really need a pretty hefty down payment to be able to afford a house. And I didn't dream small. I dreamed kind of big. I wanted 4 bedrooms, 3 baths in this really nice suburb of Detroit. He said, I don't really see how it's possible. But one thing I've learned, or actually my ex-husband learned, is you can't really tell me no. I'm going to figure out a way. So I kind of tucked that away in the back of my mind. A few weeks later, I've been invited to speak at this little entrepreneurial event. And I had to drive about an hour away to get to downtown Lansing. And as I arrived ready to deliver a motivational talk, the organizer meets me outside and says, unfortunately, Mimi, we don't have enough of an audience today, and we won't need your speaking services. I was crushed. There were still some people at the event, but really not enough to pull together a full audience. I was so bummed that I decided to go to the bar to grab a drink of wine before I headed back home. And as I'm drowning my sorrows in a glass of Riesling, this woman looks over and says, "Hi, I'm Millie." And I kind of rolled my eyes at the moment because I wasn't really into a conversation. But Millie just asked me about me. "What are you doing here, Mimi?" And I shared with her that I was supposed to speak at this event and that it got canceled. And then she started to share with me what she did. I noticed that she was eating this butternut squash soup. She offered to buy me a bowl, and she had me at food. I got a weight problem. I can't wait to eat. But in that moment, we interacted with each other, and we started really connecting about business. And she shared with me that she owned a bra business, and that her bra business made such a difference in her life. She knew that not only could she give the women a gift of the lift, but it also helped her with her family because she was able to contribute. She said, I made, tens of thousands of dollars in this business, and I know I can contribute and help my husband and my family. And ping, in that moment, my eyes got big as saucers. She invited me to come over and try on the product, and I fell in love. And within 2 weeks, I became a bra lady. Within 3 months, I became a team leader. And within a year, I had earned enough money as the down payment for my first house. What was powerful about that was the story that Millie told. Millie shared with me her perspective. She shared with me her background. She shared with me her why. And it's really important that I was able to see the transformation that she came. You see, that behavioral study that, or that the behavioral study around brain research tells us that when people are able to hear story, they're able to be more trusted with that person. They're able to have compassion and connection. Not only does it give you dopamine hits, but it also gives you hits of oxytocin. And some people call that the love hormone. So that oxytocin actually makes us more sensitive to some social cues and helps elevate our sense of empathy and connection. In many situations, it helps us engage just like it did with Millie in that moment. And from that place, she was able to open up my heart and my perspective and was really able to help serve me. So here's a way that you could actually create your own story. And I like to call it the then, now, and how. And so here's how the then, now, and how works. So then is, where did you start before you started your business? What were you struggling with? What success are you seeing now? And how did you do it? And here's a quick tip. The how is always going to be getting involved in the opportunity with Pure Romance. You want them to understand where you came from, what was the struggle and the challenge. What are you seeing now? Was it more money, more freedom, more time, more income? And how did you do it? Well, I joined the opportunity. I became a partner with Pure Romance. When you share your story, you're going to create that sense of connection with them. Remember, you're going to give them those dopamine and oxytocin hits. And what it really allows you to do is connect with them. Here's some additional information about your story. So, interestingly enough, in a healthcare context, people are more likely to change their lifestyle when they see that a character, i.e. you, that they identify with has made a similar change. Interestingly enough, a communications professor at University of Buffalo who studies the power of narrative studied this fact, and what she found is advocates can actually make health advice personally important to a patient when you hear or you read about someone who you identify with and they've taken a health action, you're more likely to stick with it yourself. So when you think about some of the supplements and other things that you offer, how can you share your then, now, and how story? It definitely will allow your clients or your customers to connect with you. And most importantly, they actually may decide to invest in the opportunity. Habit number 5 is present the value, not the price. So I want you to imagine for a moment that you're in the grocery store. And in the grocery store, you're going through the aisles and you come to the fruit section. When you're in the produce section, you see 2 oranges, orange A and orange B. Now, as you stare at them, they look pretty similar, almost identical. And then you see a woman next to you grab orange B. Now, orange B is almost 3 times the amount that orange A is. And so you ask her, why did you pick orange B over orange A? Oh, and she says, oh, well, that's easy. Let me give you a breakdown of the difference. You see, orange A it's 50 cents, but it's known to mold. It has pesticides. You could get sick. It has a weaker taste and it actually goes bad fast. See, orange B is organic and it may be 3 times the price, but there's no pesticides. You actually get 100 times the amount of vitamin C it tastes delicious, and it stays fresher longer. Now, you're probably wondering, so Mimi, what does this have to do with me skyrocketing my sales? What habit am I building? You see, your goal is to build the value for the product that you have and not focus on price. You see, interestingly enough, when all factors are considered the same, price is always going to be a deciding factor. But when making a choice between two very distinct things, price is not the deciding factor. And so it's your job to get so familiar with the products that you have that you're able to understand how you're a leg up on the competition, how the intimate products that you offer are better than the ones that you can buy at one of the competitors, how one of your solutions for health may be a better option than the competition. And you want to move away from price and be able to show that distinction. But that's on you to do the homework to make sure that you can convey that. Because people may look at things and think that they're seemingly the same, but your job is to help them see the difference. And so, do you want your potential customers or clients to see you as an apple or an orange? Do you want them to see your products as the same as everyone else's, or the same as your competition, or as distinct? Price is only an issue in the absence of value. And so if someone gives you an objection around price, it's your job to help you make sure that you point out the difference for them and how it's distinctive. It could be the materials that it's made from. It could be the process that it was developed from. Is it the research that was involved? And Suri likes to jump in the numbers don't lie. 80% of sales require 5 follow-up calls after the first meeting. And interestingly enough, 44% of sales reps give up after 1 follow-up. Did you know that 60% of customers say no 4 times before saying yes? Whereas those same 48% of salespeople never even make a single follow-up attempt? What does that say for you? Just because you've got your foot in the door doesn't mean you've closed the deal. Keep up your persistence and do everything you can to stay connected with them after that first interaction. Now, typically people say, well, Mimi, how do I do that without being annoying? How do I do that without feeling like I'm getting in their way, or that I'm that annoying salesperson? Well, I encourage you, instead of focusing in on the term follow-up, think about how you can check in with them. And here's an example of how you check in. Send them a gift. It could be a sample of a product that you have, or it could be an article that you've seen, a postcard just saying hello. Maybe it's something funny. And here's the thing, you don't mention the opportunity. You don't mention the product. You don't mention your business. It's just a quick check-in with them. Maybe you asked to interview them. Maybe you've started a podcast, or you invited them to come. They have a special skill in something that you can invite them maybe to a team meeting that you have, or send them kudos or PR that you've received. You just want to find a way to stay in front of them. And if we go back to our second habit of powering up your process, think about how the follow-up is going to be a part of your process cycle for them. Already have it built in. Think about how you can nurture that relationship. You always want to stay in front of them. I also like to rank people. If I have someone, whether it's on the product side of what I'm doing or on the recruiting side, I try to rank them based on how strong I think their potential to buy may be. If I have a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being kind of cold, 5 being hot, I want to make sure that those 4s and 5s, that I'm constantly staying in front of them. And I'm not being annoying, I'm just being persistent. It's all about that attraction piece. How do I continue to attract them? It's vital that you key in and that you stay the course. Think that the average salesperson stops after 5 attempts, and most people buy at attempt 6 or 7. What's the one more step that you could make to check in with them and to bring more money into your pocket or another person on your team? So our 9th habit is asking for the sale. So here's the weirdest thing. You've invested time and money and loads of energy into your business. You work hard, you love helping people, you've done the marketing, maybe the social media, you've invested in a website, you bought the snazzy business cards, you ship things out, you haul crap in your car, and then you meet with people and you're doing all of the things, but there's something that just puts a really big lump in your throat. And it's the moment when you feel you need to close the deal or ask for business. And when your heart starts to pound and you get a little sweaty and your oh so confident self starts to melt like butter, what should you do? I'm going to encourage you to change your thinking. I never really like the word closing. I see it as an opening of something new, to offer help to someone offer help to someone so they can get what they need. Offer the opportunity for a business relationship. So don't get hung up on like the little cheesy one-liners. Think about how you can have a conversation with them. Here's some ways to get the conversation moving. Would you like to try it? Would you like help with this? When would you like to get started? How does X feel for you? What's the end result that you're looking for? When you start that conversation, remember, selling isn't about telling. It's really about asking questions, listening, and getting to the heart of the matter for people. I remember I was a sales coach inside of a call center for a utility company. And there I was with one of the reps doing a side-by-side, which is where you just, I'm listening on the other end to her sales interaction. And I'm not allowed to say anything, but I'm there just to give her feedback after the call. And so there's Latrice. She had wrapped up whatever customer service concern they called for, and she was moving into the sale. She had done everything. She made the offer. She provided the features and the benefits of the program, more focused on the benefits. She shared with them the value of the program. She overcame objections. And she did everything right. But she just stopped. And I'm looking at her, I'm looking at the phone, I'm looking at her, I'm looking back at the phone. And I grab a piece of paper really quick and I write on the piece of paper, would you like to place this on a debit or credit card? And I held it up and I mouthed, read this. And Latrice said, would you like to place this on a debit or a credit card? And the customer said, well, yes, I've been waiting for you to ask. And that's the hard part for a lot of us, is we've done all the work. We've literally been 90% of the way there, but we're not clear about asking for the sale. And so I like to do what I call be assumptive. And this is actually a technique that leads you into the sales conversation or leads you into the close. So you ask simple questions as though you've already agreed to work with you. Now, when would you like to get started? Are you going to go with package A or package B? Send me the date for your party and I'll get the paperwork ready right now. It's assuming that I've done such a great job that I've done this. I've explained everything to you. I've created value that you know without a doubt that you're ready to move forward. And so what I would encourage you to do is think through the next interaction that you have. What words or phrases can you use to actually ask for the sale? Because sometimes we assume that we've done it and we really haven't. They're just waiting for us to lead them to that next step. And finally, our last habit, what I like to call 9.5, is I want to encourage you to celebrate your achievements. You work so hard in your business. You connect with your customers. Maybe you're a team lead and you're pulling people together, and you're lifting them up, helping them change their lives through their business. But when was the last time that you actually celebrated those achievements? Here's what I encourage you to do. The next time, like, you sell something or someone joins your team, figure out a ritual to create. For me, it's a bell. I had gotten one of my friends so in alignment with this that whenever they would hear a bell, did you land a new client? Because they knew that was my way of celebrating. Also, creating an achievement board. An achievement board is where you put on all of the items that you're excited about. And then that way you can reflect on it. Because what I really truly believe is what you focus on expands. So if you focus in on the things that you're achieving, you will have more things to be excited about, and you will achieve more in the process. As we wrap up today, I want to encourage you, don't get ready for success. Stay ready for success by instituting the habits that you've learned today. Recently, I've taken up hot yoga, and there's a pose in hot yoga known as the tree pose. For demonstration purposes, I will not demonstrate it today. But one of the interesting things I learned through yoga is actually about trees. And did you know that even once a tree is cut, that it actually never stops growing? The rings still wrap around. You can actually look at a tree and see that it keeps growing. And so I want to encourage you today to never stop growing, to continue to strive to be the very best version that you can by instituting knowledge, putting it into practice. And I guarantee that if you institute any of the 9.5 habits that you learned today, you will absolutely skyrocket your sales. It's been my pleasure to be with you. I'm Mimi Brown.